Om Brahmanandam Paramasugdam Kevalam Jnanamurtim Dandvatitam Gagan Sadrasham Tattvamasyaadilakshayam Ekam Nityam Vimlamachalam सर्वधी साक्षिभूतम् भावतीतं त्रिगुणरहितं सद्गुरुं तं नमामि. Shivam friends, today we are going to resume our reading of chapter 18 of Upasna Khand. And in this chapter, the living liberation of the true joy of man and everything is connected is being described by Vasishtha. And he's saying, Ram, I will now describe the nature of those great men who conduct themselves in this world with their desires under their control and whose minds are not blemished by evil inclinations. The sage, whose mind is freed in his lifetime, conducts himself unconcerned in this world. He smiles, secure at its occurrences, and is regardless of the first, last, and middle stages of life. He is attentive to his present business and unmindful of every other object about him. He is devoid of cares and desires, and his thought is only of his internal reflections. He is free from anxiety in all places, who tolerates whatever he happens to meet. He sees the light of reason in his soul and walks in the romantic gardens of his thoughts. He who is neither elated nor depressed in any state of his life, who doesn't fall down under any circumstance, rests in transcendental bliss, with prospects as bright as the cooling beams of the full moon, whose generosity and courage do not forsake him, even when he is troubled by his bitterest enemies, and who is observant of his desire duties to his superiors. Such a man is not dejected in this world, neither rejoices or laments at his lot, who neither envies nor yearns after the fortune of another, but pursues his own business in quiet silence, is the man that is never downcast in this world, whom, when asked, says what he is doing, but unasked remains like a dead block, and who is free from desire and disgust. He is never depressed in his heart and mind. He speaks agreeably to everyone and gently utters what he is required to say. He who understands the intentions of others is never put out. He sees the right and wrong dealings of man and the acts of the depraved desires of their minds. Knowing all human affairs as clearly as looking in the mirror in his hand, he holds his peace with everyone. Standing on his firm footing and knowing the frailty of worldly things, he smiles at the changing fortunes of nature with the cold frigidity of his heart. Ram, such is the nature of the great souls who have subdued their minds and know the course of nature as I have described to you. I am unable to describe the fond beliefs of the minds of ignorant populace who are plunged in the mud of their sensual enjoyments. Women, devoid of understanding and crazed with their personal charms, are the idols of these people, who are fond of their golden forms without knowing them to be the flames of hellfire. Wealth, The fond object of foolish people is filled with every ill and evil desire. Its pleasure is poison and produces misery. Prosperity is full with danger. Use of wealth to do meritorious deeds and various acts of piety is also filled with a great many evils, which I do not have the power to recount. Therefore, Ram, keep your sight on the full view of your spirit by retracting it from external phenomena and internal thoughts. Conduct yourself in this world as one liberated in his lifetime, being free from all your inner passions and feelings of affection, having given up all your desires and expectations. Continue performing your outward duties in this world. Follow your duties in life with a noble flexibility of your disposition, but preserve the philosophic renunciation of everything in your mind and conduct yourself accordingly in this world. Think well on the fleeting states of all earthly things and fix your mind upon the lasting nature of your soul. Thus, conduct yourself in this transitory stage with thoughts of eternity in your mind. Ram, conduct yourself with inner detachment and lack of all desire, but show your outward desire for whatever is good and great. Be detached within yourself, but full of effort in your external behavior. O Ram, conduct yourself among men with a pretended activity in your outward appearance, but with real inaction in your mind. Show yourself as the doer of your deeds, but know in your mind that you are no actor at all. O Ram, conduct yourself with full knowledge of this world, as if you are acquainted with the natures of all beings. Go wherever you please with your intimate acquaintance of everything here. Behave yourself with mankind with a pretended appearance of joy and grief, and of condolence and congratulation with others, and an assumed shape of activity and action among mankind. Manage yourself, O Ram, with full possession of your mind, unaffected by pride or vanity, as if it were as clear as the spotless sky. Go through your life unshackled by the bonds of desire. Join in all the outward acts of life with an unaltered evenness of mind under every circumstance. Do not give room to thoughts of your bondage or liberation in this world, or of the embodiment or release of your soul here. Think the revolving worlds to be a magic scene and preserve perfect tranquility of your mind. Know all this as an illusion. Only ignorance presents the false appearance of the world to sight, yet we take them for true, as you see water in the burning sunbeams in a desert. The unobstructed, uniform, and all pervading soul have no restriction or bondage. What is unrestricted in itself cannot have its release. Lack of true knowledge presents the false view of the world before us. Knowledge of truth disperses the view, just as the knowledge of the rope dispels the false appearance of the snake in it. You have known the true essence of your being by your right discernment. Thereby, you are free from the sense of your personality and are set free as the subtle air. You have known the truth and must give up your knowledge of untruth. Together with the thoughts of your friends and relatives, all which are unreal in their natures. Such being the case, you must consider your soul as something other than those, and that you have received your soul from the supreme source of all. This soul bears no relation to your friends or possession, to your good or evil actions, or to anything whatsoever in this world. When you are convinced that this very soul constitutes your essence, you have nothing to fear from the false appearance of the world, which is no more than a misconception. You have no concern for the well being or grief of a friend or foe who is not born so to you. For every one being born for himself, you have no cause for joy or grief for anybody. If you know that you had been before and that you shall be so forever afterwards, you are truly wise. If you are troubled so much with concern for friends in this life, then why not mourn those who are dead and gone in your present and past lives? If you were something other than what you are now, and you have to be something different in the future, why then should you sorrow for what doesn't have its self identity? If you are to be born no more after your past and present births, then you have no cause for sorrow, being extinct yourself in the Supreme Spirit. Therefore, there is no cause for sorrow in anything that occurs according to the course of nature. Instead, be joyful pursuing the duties of your present life. But don't indulge the excess of your joy or grief, but preserve your equanimity everywhere by knowing the Supreme Spirit pervades all. Know yourself to be the form of infinite spirit, stretching wide like the extended vacuum, and that you are the pure eternal light, the focus of full brightness. Know your eternal and invisible soul is distinct from all worldly substances, a particle of that universal soul which dwells in and stretches through the hearts of all bodies like the unseen thread running through the holes and connecting the links of a necklace. You learn from the unlearned that the continuation of the world is caused by the reproduction of what has been before. Not so from the learned. Know this and note that and be happy in this life. The course of the world and this life is ever tending to decay and disease. Ignorance represents them to be progressing to perfection. But you who are intelligent know their real nature. What else can be the nature of error but falsehood? And what may be the state of sleep be except dream and drowsiness? What do you call your good friends? And who do you say is your great enemy? They all belong to the soul one and proceed alike from the divine will. Everything is frail and unsteady and has its rise and fall from and into the Supreme Spirit. It is like the wave of the sea, rising and falling from and into the same water. Worlds are rolling upward and down, going down again, like the axis and spokes of a wheel. The celestials sometimes fall into hell, and the denizens of hell are sometimes raised to heavens. Animals of one kind are regenerated in another form, and the people of one continent and island are reborn on another. The wealthy are reduced to poverty, and the poor are raised to wealth. All beings are seen to be rising and falling in 100 ways. Who has seen the wheel of fortune move slowly in one straightforward course forever, not trembling in its ups and downs or turning to this side and that in its winding and uneven route. Fixedness of fortune is a friction, like finding frost in fire. Those who are called wealthy, with all fortune, position, friends, and relations, are seen flying away in a few days of this transient life. The thoughts of something as one's own or another's, and of this and that as mine, yours, his, or someone else, are as false as the appearance of double suns and moons in the sky. That this is a friend and that this other one is a foe, and that this is myself and that one is another, are all only false ego conceptions of your mind and must be wiped away. However, make it your pleasure to mix with the blinded populace and those who are lost to reason. Deal with them in your usual unaltered way. In your journey through this world, conduct yourself in such a manner that you don't sink under the burden of your cares of it. When you come to your reason, lay down your earthly cares and desires. Then shall you have that composure of mind that will exonerate you from all your duties and dealings in life. It is the part of low minded man to reckon one as a friend and another one as no friend. Noble minded men don't observe such distinctions between man and man. There is nothing where I am not, and nothing which is not mine. The intellects of the wise are as clear as the spacious sky. There is no rising or setting of their intellectual light, which views everything as serenely as in the serenity of the atmosphere, and as plainly as the plain surface of the earth. Know, Ram, that all created beings are friendly and useful to you, and there is no person or thing in the world with which you are not related in some way. It is false to look anyone as a friend or foe among the various orders of created beings in the universe. In reality, each may be of help to you, however unfriendly they may appear at first. So, with this, chapter 18 comes to an end. And in the chapter 19, Vashishji is speaking on family relationships and telling the story of Punya and Pavana. Vashishji saying, I will now give you an example on the subject, the story of two brothers born of a sage on the banks of Ganges, where it flows in three directions. I have been talking about friends and enemies, so this wonderful tale from the past occurs to my mind. Hear this holy story. On this continent of Asia, there a mountainous region surrounded by gardens and forests with the high Mount Mahendra rising above the rest. It touched the sky with its lofty peaks, and its wish fulfilling culp tree spread its shadow over the hermits and kinners that took shelter beneath it. The place resounded with the sound of sages chanting the Samved hymns as they passed from its caves and peaks to the region of Indra. Fleecy clouds, constantly drizzling rainwater from its thousand peaks, washing plants and flowers below. They appeared like tufts of their hair hanging down from heaven to earth. The mountain echoed with the loud roars of impetuous, eight-legged Shrabhas, and with the thunder from the hollow mouths of its dark and deep clouds, like the world destroying culp cloud. The thundering noise of its cascades falling from the precipice to precipice into its caverns would make the loud crashing of ocean waves blush by comparison. There, on a tableland upon the craggy top of the mountain, flowed the sacred stream of the heavenly Ganges for the ablution and drink of the hermits. There, on the banks of the triple path river Ganga, was a shining mountain, sparkling like bright gold and decorated with blossoming trees. There lived a sage named Dirghata, who was a personification of meditation and a man of enlightened understanding. He had a noble mind and was accustomed to the austerities of tapa. This sage was blessed with two children as beautiful as the full moon. They were named Punya and Pavan, and they were as intelligent as the sons of Brahaspati, who are known as the two Kachas. Dirtap lived with his wife and their two sons on the bank of river amid a grove of fruit trees. In course of time, the two children arrived at the age of discretion. Punya, the elder of the two, was superior to the other in all his merits. The younger boy, Pavan, was half awakened in his intellect, like the half blown lotus at the dawn of the day. His lack of intelligence kept him from knowing the truth and the certainty of his faith. In the course of all destroying time, the sage came to complete 100 years, and age and infirmity reduced the strength of his tall body and long life. His vitality decrepit, he bade farewell to his desires in this world, so frail and full of 100 fearful accidents to human life. At last, the old devotee Dirgtapa left his mortal frame in a cave of that mountain, like a bird quitting its old nest forever, or a water bearer laying down the burden off from his shoulders. His spirit fled like the fragrance of a flower to that empty space which is ever tranquil, free from attributes and thought, and of the nature of pure consciousness. The sage's wife, finding his lifeless body lying on the ground, fell down upon it and remained motionless like a lotus flower plucked from its stalk. She also was long accustomed to the practice of yoga according to her husband's instruction, so she also left her undecayed body like a bee flits from an unfaded flower into empty air. Unseen by men, her soul followed her husband's as the light of the stars disappears in the sky at the dawn of the day. Seeing the death of both parents, the elder son Punya was busily employed in performing their funeral services, but the younger Pavan was deeply absorbed in grief at their loss. Being overwhelmed by the sorrow in his mind, he wandered about in the woods. Not having the firmness of his elder brother, he continued to wail in his mourning. The magnanimous Punya performed the funeral ceremonies of his parents. They went in search of his brother mourning in the woods. Punya said, "My boy, why is your soul overcast by the cloud of your grief? Why do you shed tears from your lotus eyes as profusely as rain showers, only to render you blind? Know, my intelligent boy, that both your father and mother have gone to their ultimate blissful state in the Supreme Spirit, called the state of salvation or liberation. That is the last resort of all living beings, and that is the blessed state of all self subdued souls. Then why mourn for them who have returned and have reunited with their own proper nature? You vainly indulge yourself in false and fruitless grief. You are mourning for what is not to be mourned at all. Neither is she your mother nor he your father. You are not the only son of them who have had numerous children in their repeated births. You also have had thousands of fathers and mothers in your bygone births, in as much as there are many streams of running waters in every forest. You are not the only son of they who have had innumerable sons before you. Generations of men have passed away like the currents of a running stream. Our parents also had numberless children in their past lives, and the branches of human generation are as numerous as the innumerable flowers and fruits on trees. The numbers of your friends and relatives in our repeated lives in this world have been as great as the innumerable fruits and flowers of a large tree in all its many seasons. If you are to lament over the loss of your parents and children who are dead and gone, then why not also lament those we have lost and left behind in all our past lives? It is all only a delusion, oh my fortunate boy, that is presented before us in this elusive world. In truth, O my conscious child, we have nobody we may call to be our real friends or positive enemies in this world. In a true sense, there is no loss of anybody or anything in the world. It is only that they appear to exist and disappear, like the appearance of water in the dry desert. The royal dignity that you may see, adorned with a stately umbrella and flapping fans, is only a dream that lasts a few days. Consider these phenomena in their true light, and my boy, you will find that none of these, nor ourselves, nor any one of us, is to last forever. Therefore, shun your error of the passing world from your mind forever. That these are dead and gone, and these other exist before us are only errors of our minds and creatures of our false notions and fond desires. There is no reality in them. Our notions and desires paint and present these various changes before our sight, like sunshine presenting water in a mirage. So, our fancies, working in the field of our ignorance, produces the false conceptions that roll on like currents in the eventful ocean of the world, bringing the waves of favorable and unfavorable events to us. So, friends, with this chapter 19 also comes to an end, and we should now rest our session of reading today's reading here itself. I thank to Lord Ram for his grace to me to complete this session, and I pray for his grace for further reading of next chapters. Until then, Shivoham, friends, we will meet again by the grace of Lord Ram. Shivoham.